Well, that's because the mind clutter has really mellowed out. Now, the inverse of that is what? That's what I'd like you to talk about, because I really want everybody to get what they are sacrificing by not having a system of organizing their thoughts, and what the effect is that they're not even in some cases aware of. You talk about unconscious incompetence. Like, I don't think a lot of people are even aware of the level of stress and anxiety and all of that that's transpiring. So talk about that if you could, please.
Well, as you know, the old saying, the last thing a fish notices is water. The last thing most people notice is the ambient anxiety they're living in. And so it's their addiction to that that prevents them from doing what you've done or implementing any of this. And I say addiction, it means you're not going to go shoot up stress, but you're willing to tolerate that. You're willing to tolerate that ambient anxiety, that squirrel that runs around in your mind and wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning about stuff you didn't do or forgot or whatever. And that's just, uncomfortable. I came up with the principle years ago that your head's for having ideas, but not for holding them. And in the last decade, all kinds of cognitive scientists have now proven that. As a matter of fact, your brain did not evolve to remember, remind, prioritize, and manage relationships between more than guess how many things they've proven now? 4. That's it. As soon as you have more than 4 things you're trying to keep track of in that crappy place called your head, then you're going to lose cognitive ability. You're going to be suboptimal in your ability to be able to focus, and you're going to tend to be driven by latest and loudest. Period. Don't shoot the messenger, guys. That's now scientific data. You can just go read all the books in cognitive science, and the research has been done lately about that. So, so you're right. It is real estate, and you only have a limited amount of real estate that your brain can manage. And that's why a good friend of mine and another expert in this whole area, a researcher, psychiatrist, psychologist, professor in the University of Brussels, Theo Campanoli is a great guy, and he's curated 650 studies of cognitive science in the last decade or so. And his whole thing is the brain needs to rest. You need to stop. You need to give yourself clear space to let the archive part of your brain, curate essentially all the complexity that we all deal with on a daily basis. Most people don't realize how many commitments they have, how many things they have to think about, how many inputs that they need to make decisions about. It's a lot more than most people realize. And so, optimizing the ability for your brain to be creative, to be strategic, to be present, to be innovative, to be any of those cool things which your brain is actually good at doing, you're going to lose the ability and the space to be able to do that. And there's limited space, not an infinite amount of space in there. So you want to be able to free it up, in order to be able to be more creative or just present. I coach the head of the World Bank, and his presenting issue was, David, when I go home from the bank on the weekend with my young kids, I don't want to take the bank with me. So, yeah, no kidding. So a whole lot of that is about, just being able to then create that freedom. And again, I didn't make this up. Don't shoot the messenger. This is just the truth. So how much, and I really wasn't a coach like you're a coach, and we didn't even use the word coaching back then, which is a consulting process, and it was basically just help people implement the model. How much you stuck with the model, whether you took to the model or whatever, that wasn't my issue. I just need to go on to the next person that wanted to know what the model was and what it would look like to implement it. So I was not a hands-on over a long period. I've done that a few times, where clients had wanted me for a whole year to hand hold them, to walk them through the process so they really install this as a habit. But that really wasn't my gig. My gig was to define the game. So if you read my book, Getting Things Done, especially the new edition, it's just the manual about this. How much people decide to do what's in the manual, kind of beats me. But I figured that was a major milestone in my life, and it took me 20 years, Tim, to figure out what I'd figured out, and that it was unique and nobody else seemed to have done it. So I got some good coaching. David, you ought to write the book. Okay, so 2001, first edition of Getting Things Done was published. I had no idea how much uptake there'd be out there for it. I just said, I need to get it out of my head and get this manual out there about what this is in case I get run over by a bus. Somebody will pick up the book and figure it out.